If your relationships keep ending the same way, it's not because you're unlucky. It's because something is repeating that you were never taught to look out for. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. This shows up if you're single, if you're dating, if you're married, if you're divorced. Different person, same emotional ending. And most people keep trying to fix the wrong thing, which is why the same dynamic keeps coming back. And before this video ends, I'm going to show you the exact moment where this pattern can be interrupted, because it happens much earlier than most people think. If you like content that puts language to things you felt but couldn't quite name, subscribe. That's what this channel is about. Now, let's talk about the misdiagnosis. Most people believe the problem is external. They say, I keep choosing the wrong people. I guess I have a type. I just have bad luck with relationships. And that explanation feels comforting. But if the issue were just the people, changing partners would change the ending, and it doesn't. The face changes, the dynamics stay. This is usually where people stop listening, because they think this means they're the problem. That's not what this means, but it does mean something very specific is happening under the surface, and most people never learn how to see it. What repeats is not the person. What repeats is the role you keep stepping into. And roles are tricky because they feel like personality. The role often looks like over-explaining, over-functioning, waiting to be chosen, staying hopeful longer than feels reasonable, working harder when something feels off. If one of those landed, this isn't about blame. It's about understanding why this feels normal. Let me show you how this usually plays out in real life. You meet someone new, the connection feels strong early, there's chemistry, conversation flows, then something subtle happens. Plans get vague, follow-through becomes inconsistent. You notice you're the one checking in, adjusting, waiting. And instead of pulling back, you lean in. You explain your needs more clearly. You give more benefit of the doubt. You tell yourself they just need more time. On the outside, it looks like patience, but internally, you're stepping into a role you've played before, and the ending is rarely surprising, even if it's disappointing. Here's why this keeps happening. What pulls you in isn't health, it's familiarity. Recognition can feel like chemistry, intensity, connection, even when it's actually unresolved emotional learning. That's why you can meet someone who looks nothing like your ex, acts completely different, and still end up feeling the same confusion, anxiety, or imbalance. You're not choosing a person, you're choosing a pattern. Quick question. Which role do you fall into most? The explainer, the overfunctioner, or the one who waits to be chosen? Just drop the word in the comments. This is usually the internal conversation happening underneath. I'm just being understanding. They've been hurt before. I don't want to be too much. If I'm patient, it'll settle. None of that sounds unhealthy. But over time, you realize you're carrying the relationship emotionally. That's the moment the role fully locks in. The cost of repeating this pattern isn't just another breakup. It's what's happening to your relationship with yourself. You start questioning your judgment, trusting yourself less, getting quieter about your needs. Not because you don't have them, but because you don't want to be disappointed again. That's where the real damage happens. This is why the interruption point matters, and we'll get to it in a moment. You can understand the pattern, name it, explain it, even predict how it ends, and still feel pulled towards it. Because insight lives in the mind, patterns live in what you've learned to tolerate. Until your system learns that consistency is safe, that calm isn't boring, that being chosen doesn't require effort or performance, that pattern keeps on repeating. This is the moment where patterns actually break, and most people miss it. Patterns don't break when you meet the right person. They break when you respond differently to what feels familiar. When you slow attraction instead of chasing intensity. When you pause instead of pushing. When you choose consistency, even when it feels underwhelming at first. That discomfort isn't a red flag. It's often your system stepping out of an old loop. Most people aren't repeating patterns because they're broken. They're repeating patterns because familiarity feels safer than uncertainty, even when familiarity hurts. Learning to tolerate unfamiliar peace is often the most loving thing you can do for yourself. If this helped you recognize the role you fall into, subscribe, because next I'm going to break down how to interrupt each role in real time. What to do when you feel yourself over-explaining, what to do when you start carrying the relationship, and how to rebuild trust with yourself. Notice what feels recognizable, not who feels wrong. That awareness is where change starts. And if you pay attention this week, you'll probably notice the role showing up sooner than expected. That's usually how change actually begins.